Hello students, what strikes through your mind when you read the title Lost Spring? Well, I'm talking about the story Lost Spring written by Anis Jung. You may have seen often in literature our life is compared with a year and different seasons stand for different ages. Like spring stands for childhood, summer stands for youth, autumn stands for middle age, and winter stands for old age. In this case, you see that there's a subtitle as well. It's Stories of Stolen Childhood. And we immediately understand that here spring stands for childhood and the story is telling us about lost childhood. Children, those who are underprivileged, it is their story. The story is divided into two halves. In the first half, Anis Jung talks about a boy named Sahib Alam. He is a Bangladeshi immigrant. He lives in Simapuri, which is at the periphery of Delhi. Simapuri is a slum area where around 10,000 rat pickers live in deplorable conditions. They don't have proper houses, they live in makeshift tents. They don't have access to clean drinking water. There are no proper roads. They don't have access to electricity. And there are no schools. There lives our boy, Sahib Alam. His name literally means master of the universe. Does he know that? Well, he is not aware of that meaning, but he truly treats himself to be the master of his own universe. He is free. He is a rag picker who runs around with his friends picking rags, searching through garbage heaps. Sometimes he and his friends get a coin or two, and that is a kind of treasure for them. For their parents, garbage is a source of livelihood, but for them, it's a treasure trove. Anis Jung one day got to talk to Sahib and she learned from him that he did not attend any school because there was no school in Simapuri. So she said if she came up with a school, whether Sahib would attend that. And Sahib seemed to be very happy to hear such a suggestion. He was literally very enthusiastic about it, but it was a promise that Anis Jung made without giving it much thought. It was one of those promises that we often make, but we do not give much thought to them. They are just false promises that come from the whim of our mind. So on their next meeting, when Sahib asked her whether she had actually come up with her school, she did not have an answer to provide. She understood that she made a mistake. That promise rather had a great impact on Sahib. Observing Sahib and other children from Simapuri, Anis Jung noticed that they would not wear chappals. She learned from them that some of them had chappals, but they would choose not to wear them. They would rather keep them to be worn on special occasions. Here she made a comment that often children from poor families don't wear chappals because they just took it to be a tradition. It was more of a tradition for them. Here Anis Jung talks about how the condition of poor people has changed over the years. She knew about a child from the temple town of Udupi. He was the son of a temple priest and his only dream was to own a pair of shoes. 30 years later, when she visited the same temple complex, she saw that the son of the then temple priest had shiny shoes. He attended school and he was seen to be wearing school uniform. So temple priests could now afford shoes for their children. But the children of Simapuri, they are not that privileged. Anis Jung then extensively talked about the condition of life in Simapuri, how the people, 10,000 Bangladeshi immigrant people lived there in deplorable conditions, how their life was so harsh, how they lived in makeshift tents, how there was no clean water, drinking water. There was no proper drainage system, there was no school, no electricity, no medical center, and the only source of income of those people was rag picking. So garbage heaps were the source of their livelihood. For children, they were still treasure troves. They were wrapped in wonder. Sometimes they would find a coin or two, and that was their treasure. One day, Anis Jung found Sahib Alam watching a game of tennis through the fenced gate of a local club. He was not allowed into the complex because he was a poor kid, but when there was no one around, the gatekeeper would allow him to use the swing. He felt sympathetic towards these poor children. Sahib was seen wearing a pair of tennis shoes. They were old discarded shoes of some rich kid. But for Sahib, they were a dream come true. A boy who could not afford to buy a new pair of shoes or chappals, that pair was a kind of lottery that he had won. Sahib was no more a rag picker. He had now started working at a tea stall. He was getting paid 800 rupees per month and all meals every day. He was not that free kid anymore. The sack would seem less heavy than the steel canister he was carrying. He was no more the master of his own universe. He had now become an unindependent person under a tea stall owner. That was heartbreaking. In the second half of the story, Anis Jung talks about a boy called Mukesh who lived in Firozabad. Now, Firozabad was the center of glass blowing industry. Almost half the families there were engaged in bangle making. Children there worked in unimaginable conditions, but the families could not afford to engage any workers. It was definitely illegal to engage children to work in the glass bangle making factories, but they had no other options. Despite working in the field for generations after generations, they were still struggling to earn enough money to feed their entire families or to rebuild or renovate their houses. Mukesh's family was not an exception either. His sister-in-law, who was not much older, was already taking care of the entire family. His grandmother rather had surrendered to this fate. She considered her husband losing his eyesight while working in the glass bangle making factory to be his karma, and it was the destiny of the children of the house to work in that same industry. That's what she believed. Mukesh's father had struggled to be a tailor but did not manage to become or continue to be one. Later, he too became a bangle maker, but despite working decades in the field, he was still struggling to feed his family, and he had not managed to repair his own house. And in the neighborhood, there was this girl Savita who was very young and who was seen to be polishing glass bangles that would stand as symbols of suhag, of married women. Even before she would understand the concept of marriage, she would be married off. Basically, the children in that area did not have a life. They did not have a proper childhood. While exploring Firozabad, Anis Jung wondered why the people there, those who were working in the glass blowing industry, were not forming cooperatives. That way they would be able to earn more than they were doing. She learned from them that it was their desire as well, but they simply could not do so. Because if they tried to form cooperatives, they would rather be dragged to jail. The police would say that they were breaking some laws. They definitely were doing so because they were forced to do so. The sahukars, the middlemen who were actually earning money by manipulating these poor workers, were feeding the politicians and the police. So the system was being controlled by these sahukars, the middlemen, the politicians and the police. And it was because of their manipulation these poor people were forced to break laws. They were forced to make their children work in the industry. They were not earning enough money and they simply could not afford to live without breaking laws. And if they tried to break out of that cycle, if they tried to form cooperatives and run the business on their own terms, they would rather be dragged to jail. They would rather be forced to abandon that desire. So it was the system that was making them break laws. And if they tried to stop breaking laws, by improving their life by forming cooperatives, they would rather be dragged to jail. And that's why this vicious cycle rolled on and on. Now, the children of Firozabad would not dare to dream different. They would not dare to dream bigger. But Mukesh was an exception. He wanted to become a car mechanic. He was even ready to walk a long distance if he had to go to a garage to learn the trade. He did not wish to become a victim of the system. So the story Lost Spring by Anis Jung tells us about the condition of poor children in India. We learn about Mukesh, we learn about Sahib Alam and similar other children, and we learn how their dreams are coaxed, how they are subjected to the discrimination of the society and the system. We learn about their lost childhood. The childhood they should enjoy is rather lost under the pressure of the system, under the pressure of poverty. Poverty that is forced upon them by the system, by the society. So the story raises several questions. Why the people who are poor are still poor? Who are responsible for their poverty? Who should be held accountable for their sufferings? Are the system and the society discriminatory against them? Is the system manipulative? Some of these questions are answered in the story. Some of these questions are answered vaguely and others are left to be answered by us. We have to introspect to see whether we have done enough for these people, for these children.